Hey, 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 happy Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, March 29th, 2023. This is live stream 903. If you're not too overly familiar with this show, let me point out, super casual, just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then normally we'll take a first look at a game. Every once in a while I'll do a live review, but most of the time I take a first look at a tabletop game, and tonight will be no different. That's right, because I am going to dive on in and take a first look at Delta Green, The Conspiracy from Arc Dream Publishing. And then as a bonus, I'm going to take a peek at the newly revised, I guess we will say, adventure Convergence, which I do believe was the first Delta Green adventure ever published. Back in the late 90s, it would have been. So stay tuned. We are going to be taking a peek at both of those in just a bit. But I should also mention, if you're not overly familiar with the Dispatch, we do tackle the tabletop gaming news first. So it will probably be about 35 minutes or so before we jump on into the conspiracy. So if you're watching live, just kick back, put your feet up, relax, enjoy yourself. It's Wednesday, it's hump day, halfway to the weekend. Be good to yourself. Now, if you happen to be a subscriber to the channel, you'll be able to occupy yourself while you're waiting for that first look as well. But I should also point out, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. Lastly, there is chat available. That's right. So if you're a subscriber, you can take part in chat. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Yet another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. Maybe there'll be something about the conspiracy you want a closer look at. Just ask, and I will do my best to respond. We might even have a special guest in chat with us tonight as well. We shall see. So speaking of chat, first out the gate tonight was Testy Trekkie, followed by Kevin R. Smith. John Muscola is with us, as is Disavowed 92, Veteran Grayblox, and Coco B. Mark Dandy's also hanging out. Coco B says, hey gang, sitting in a theater waiting for Dungeons and Dragons. See you next week. I'm bouncing around maybe and going to see that. We could have seen it free at GaryCon, but the funny thing is, the time that they had it scheduled for either conflicted with something we had going on, or the free beer happy hour that we had paid $25 each for cups in order to take part in, like so. And Elliot wanted to make sure he got his $25 worth of free beer. So, and he certainly did. So did I. That is for sure. Zurex1 is also hanging out with us tonight in chat. So welcome aboard, everybody. Let's jump on into the news. Because arriving later this year from Capstone Games is Wandering Towers. Here is the latest for, I gotta be honest, I don't know when this is hitting stores. It's really weird. It just says sometime this year. Anyway, each year the graduating classes of the Raven Realm Magic School compete to demonstrate their mastery of magic. For the final exam, all the wizards of each class must assemble the legendary Raven's Keep, but every last one of them has procrastinated, distracted by learning new spells. They've also used all of their potions. They can't show up unprepared with empty potion bottles. Help your wizards get to Raven's Keep as quickly as possible. Using their magic, they could even move the very towers atop which they stand to get there more easily. But how can they refill their potion bottles along the way? Well, here's a little secret. Trapping wizards allows you to capture some of their magical essence in a bottle. From award-winning designers Wolfgang Kramer and Michael Kiesling, Wandering Towers is brought to life with rich illustrations by Michael Menzel. Wandering Towers is for 2 to 6 players, ages 8 and up, plays in around 30 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $44.99 when it arrives, as I mentioned, sometime later this year. I gotta say, it has a very unique and visual pop. So it's got a very unique look, and it does look like it adds some solid visual pop at your table. Looks kind of cool. Looks pretty interesting. So Tessie Trekkie says, never turn down free beer unless it's Foster's. What? But Foster's is Australian for beer. Yes, we mentioned that from time to time, that there are certain beers that people in the countries those beers are from don't drink. Foster's being one. Corona being another. So, Kathy Evans is saying howdy. Welcome, Kathy. Hitting stores in April is Autobahn, and here's the scoop from Alley Cat Games. Autobahn is an economic strategy game about the building of the German motorway system over 3 periods of time, spanning from the end of World War II to the present day. At the end of the second period, in 1990, the unification opens up opportunities to further extend the network into the eastern part of the country. As a director within the Bundesautobahn organization, you're responsible for managing and developing the German federal highway system. Aside from building roads, you'll also be responsible for facilitating the transport of goods to neighboring countries and constructing petrol stations to benefit from this new traffic. As you contribute to the development of the network, you gain seats at the administration boards of each highway, and they will increase your budget at the start of each period. Over the course of the game, your board members will eventually advance to more prestigious seats within the Bundesautobahn building, which instead will provide victory points at the end of the game. Plan ahead to optimize your efficiency. Each contribution you make builds your reputation and gains you access to new departments and scoring opportunities that better align with your chosen path to victory. The cards in your hand allow you to take actions on one of the 7 main Autobahns. You'll need to plan carefully and time your actions perfectly if you want to make the most of your hand before you need to collect your cards back. Autobahn is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 90 to 150 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $55 when it arrives on April 19th. This looks pretty cool. and fairly unique. Not only are you building the Autobahn, you need to make sure that you are setting up routes for transportation of goods to other countries and open up services as well, such as fuel stations. So kind of cool. This looks kind of cool. To be honest, I always thought Alley Cat Games was kind of more lighter fare. And I know I've shared some news pieces about Alley Cat Games releases. And this looks like this could be I don't want to say heavyweight, but a fairly meaty game experience. Chuck Terrell is swinging on in to join us tonight. Welcome, Chuck. Let's move on to some role-playing game news, because Cubicle 7 Entertainment recently released the new Warhammer 40K roleplay Imperium Maledictum in PDF. And if you're in the market for more Warhammer 40K RPG background flavor, there's currently an awesome humble bundle to set your sights on. Here's the deets on the deal. A thrilling trio of Warhammer 40,000 role-playing experiences. Explore the darkest, most brutal corners of the galaxy in 3 distinctive role-playing games set in the grim future of Warhammer 40,000. Featuring 40-plus essential rulebooks and supplemental tomes. I think the exact count is 43. Filled with new possibilities for characters and campaigns, this library will fuel your own tales of conflict between the Imperium and Chaos for eons to come. Root out the vile corruption that threatens humanity as an acolyte of the Inquisition in dark heresy. Hold the line against the coming night as a brave member of the God Emperor's Imperial Guard in Only War. Become a disciple of the Dark Gods and spread terror across the stars in Black Crusades. These savings will run through April 13th. Your purchase is going to support the Children's Health Ireland program, and you can get started for only $1, or you can get all 43 PDFs for a minimum donation of $25. That is less than $1 a PDF. So very nice, very cool. If I remember correctly, all 3 of these RPGs were originally with Fantasy Flight Games. I think they were the ones who produced these, if memory serves. In fact, Brethren Grabelox is pointing out, yep, FFG had a good run. They love Black Crusade. Sweet. Christopher Rush and Deja Vu are hanging with the gang tonight. Welcome aboard to you both. So yeah, this is a smashing deal. And I have yet to take a peek at the new Imperium Maledictum. But I will maybe over the weekend, just kind of get a glance through it, because the fine folks over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment were kind enough to send that along to me. So, it looks, I got to be honest, I took a peek at like the first 10 pages, and it's laid out exactly like Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. So I kind of get the feeling that it's built on that system. It's, I guess they say like a modified D100 system, but that's pretty much what Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is. So it should be relatively familiar. Christopher says that really is a great deal. They're also looking forward to the new RPG too. Sadly enough, it won't arrive in print until Q4. Now, I don't know if that means that Cubicle 7 Entertainment won't have any copies at Gen Con, but truth be told, Cubicle 7 doesn't usually get their like latest releases out at Gen Con. In fact, usually they just miss hitting. On to the next news piece. Now available in PDF is the Tal'Dorei campaign setting reborn. Here's the skinny from Darrington Press. Tal'Dorei campaign setting reborn is the definitive source book for bringing the locations, people, creatures, and character options of Critical Role's Tal'Dorei continent to role-playing games everywhere. An outstanding team of designers and artists have created an unparalleled resource for playing in and learning about this iconic locale from the hit series Critical Role. The hit series Critical Role first explored Tal'Dorei. Is that like the title of the show now, the hit series? They repeat it like right after, one after the other. It's like, okay, yeah, because that hit series ones. Let's say it a third time. The hit series Critical Role first explored Tal'Dorei, a fantasy-filled land brimming with tales of heroes and wonder through the epic adventures of Vox Machina. Now, players everywhere can live the magic and stories to rival the beloved show. Soar on a skyship from the metropolis of Emon to the distant haven of Whitestone. Venture into wilderness rife with terrifying monsters and wayward mages, and uncover magic items that range from simple trinkets to the legendary vestiges of Divergence. Explore dazzling new subclasses and backgrounds in your epic adventures in the world of Exandria and beyond. Tal'Dorei campaign setting Reborn holds a wealth of playable content, lore, and artwork to inspire. The adventure begins here. Tal'Dorei campaign setting Reborn contains everything you need to unlock the rich setting of Tal'Dorei and make it your own. There's a guide to each major region with story hooks to fuel your campaign, expanded character options, including 9 subclasses and 5 backgrounds, magic items such as the vestiges of Divergence, legendary artifacts that grow in power with their wielders, dozens of creatures, many featured in the Critical Role campaigns, new lore and updated stat blocks for each member of Vox Machina. The 283-page PDF can now be had in digital format. That's what a PDF would be at DriveThruRPG for $24.99. I do understand that the hardcover is out. It's been out for a little bit. It does carry an MSRP of $49.99, but it was just about, I think, 2 or 3 days ago that the PDF became available, and it is available on DriveThruRPG. Christopher says they have this book, and it's a solid setting book. Great options for characters. I've watched the first season of Vox Machina, and I think I'm like 2 episodes into the second season. It's okay. I mean, yeah, I've watched it. It's good enough for me to continue watching it. So there is that. And one of the things, though, I don't know how many of you out there watch the show, but the one character who's kind of like the marksman, it's got like that demon-infused gun or whatever, sort of like, is that all he does? He's just got a gun? Really? Kind of a whiner. Kind of the character model, the character design almost reminds me of the main character from the old anime Trigun. What was it? I think their name is Vash, if I remember right. Flaming Huron has joined us in chat. Yes, Kevin says, Percy? Yes, Percy. That is exactly who I'm thinking. Flaming Huron says, but he is the gun guy. I know. What can I tell you? What can I tell you? I mean, like I said, it's decent enough for me to watch where it's not just droning on in the background as I'm doing something. Christopher says, yes, it was Vash the Stampede. I was going to say it's been a long, long time since I watched Trigun. That is for sure. All right, let's wrap up the news tonight because now also out in PDF, From Iron Crown Enterprise.
From Darrington Press.
Law for Rolemaster Unified. I've got the dope. For over 4 decades, Rolemaster has been the definitive fantasy role-playing game. Oh, wait a second. I forgot. See, so busy zipping along here. I was going to share a preview video of the book. I keep forgetting it's Tal'Dorei campaign setting Reborn. It's like, oh, got to make sure I say Reborn. So it's a short video. It's about a minute long. So if you want to get a better look, let's take a peek.
From Darrington Press, experience the dawning of a new age with Tal'Dorei campaign setting Reborn, the definitive 5e sourcebook that brings the land of Tal'Dorei to your game. Rediscover the land of Critical Role's Vox Machina 20 years after their campaign, with new maps, detailed guides for each region, and a fold-out map of the continent. Delve into Tal'Dorei's hidden histories with this nearly 300-page tome containing 9 dazzling subclasses, 5 rich backgrounds, and dozens of new creatures, feats, and magic items, including the vestiges of Convergence. Explore uncharted waters with the Oath of the Open Sea Paladin. Unlock the arcane secrets of Hemocraft as a blood magic wizard. Defend the land from elemental chaos with the Ashari background. Or even come face to face with the legendary heroes of Vox Machina themselves. Complete with official stat blocks, portraits, and biographies, detailing their lives 20 years later. The future of Tal'Dorei is in your hands now. How do you want to do this? Tal'Dorei campaign setting Reborn. Available now at Critical Role's shops.
There you go. So, nice peek there. I'll be very honest, I wouldn't mind picking this up. I wouldn't mind checking it out. So we already, I think it was Christopher just said, yeah, it's pretty good. It is a pretty good setting book. So Christopher says this book has an awesome gothy bard subclass. Groovy. All right. So as I started to say, now out in PDF from Iron Crown Enterprises is Spell Law for Rolemaster Unified. I've got the dope. For over 4 decades, Rolemaster has been the definitive fantasy role-playing game that combines realism and depth without sacrificing playability. Ooh, I don't know if I would say that. It's just me personally. Rolemaster Unified is the next evolution, drawing upon the best elements of previous editions to create a streamlined and consistent game. Rolemaster Spell Law is the spell system of Rolemaster Unified. Rolemaster Spell Law is the definitive and highly acclaimed magic system. Revised, reformatted, reorganized, and expanded, Rolemaster Spell Law brings the magic to life in your campaign. Unleash the powers of the elements upon your foes through your mastery of the essence. Wield the subtler energies of mentalism to bewilder your enemies and manipulate the minds of your rivals. Call upon your god to heal any wound and blast the undead to ashes. Spell Law organizes several thousand spells, yes, you heard that correctly, into multiple spell lists forming the realms of essence, channeling, and mentalism. Spell lists are further categorized into open, closed, evil, and base categories. The specialist spell lists of all these spell-using professions introduced in Rolemaster Core Law are in Rolemaster Spell Law. All spell lists contain a complete set of spells from 1st to 20th level, plus epic 25th, 30th, 35th, 40th, and 50th level effects. Yes, I'm just going to cast my 50th level fireball. Thank you very much. Oh, scorch the surface of the planet. So sorry. Sorry, everybody. I started the oxygen on fire and burned off all of the atmosphere. Sorry about that. Spell Law contains the rules for magic and spell casting. It provides rules for characters to learn new spells and even research whole new spell lists. Ritual magic is presented as an alternative mechanism of achieving magical effects. Finally, Spell Law provides comprehensive explanations on how to handle the more complex areas of magical effects, such as portents, healing, summoning, illusions, invisibility, and more. The 287-page hardcover of Spell Law is going to carry an MSRP of $49.99. You can score the PDF over at DriveThruRPG right now for $25. Tessie Trekkie says, Rollmaster is a playable game? You lie. Kevin says, is it really Rollmaster if it's streamlined? Not that Kevin feels that they've actually done that. Kevin said it's called Chartmaster. Yep. Chuck says the crew at Iron Crown can't afford to have the same artist, so it's hit or miss as far as their art style. They're always looking for artists who work cheap. Chuck doesn't mind because he likes the system. Table Master is what he's referring to it as. From what I saw, the artwork looks halfway decent. Because I know in the past, Iron Crown has reached out and they had sent a few items just in PDF. And the artwork was just awful. It was that real cheap, cheesy, you could tell it's all like computer generated. And we're not even talking, AI enhanced. We're talking computer generated from, the kind of waxy faced mannequin look to the characters in that. Kevin says it's all fun and games until you fumble a 50th level spell. Don't! Sorry, I've killed the entire party. Chuck says, yes, that artwork was terrible. All right, so that is the news for tonight. Of course, I was talking about various products over at DriveThruRPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to go visit, say, DriveThruRPG or Dungeon Masters Guild, Storyteller's Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. All those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find the gaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop by paypal.me/thegaminggang and making a small donation. And a big thank you to all of you out there who use the banner ads and or visit paypal.me/thegaminggang. Thank you kindly. All right, so there you have it. There is the news. A couple of things I did want to mention before we dive on into the first look at Delta Green, The Conspiracy, is, first off, I did want to mention that I was talking about how someone had pointed out to me that Goodman Games was looking for streamers to cover Goodman Games products. So I did a little digging and I actually found the blog post over at the Goodman Games website. So they're effectively, I guess they're offering like $50 a video or something like that. Well, the reality is I'm not necessarily, I'm not looking to get paid to share video about Goodman Games stuff, right? Because that makes me a shill, and I am not a shill. But I certainly would like an opportunity to review Goodman Games stuff. And there was some talk back and forth with Jen. I forget her last name. She was part of Spellburn. Now she's sort of their like media relations person, PR person. And it was kind of like, well, you know, maybe we could send like PDFs. I was like, I don't do videos with PDFs because it's boring. It's boring to see a video with just, you know, images going past. It's one thing to do a news piece for a few moments. It's another thing to try to put together like a review or first look or something like that, right? So MC's with us. Good to see you. Says, yes, please. I like GG. So Fleming Heron says, I would have thought just providing physical copies would be just as cheap. I don't know. I don't know if they've just had a policy that they weren't interested in having reviewers review their products. I mean, that is a possibility. There are companies out there like that. Who's it? Pinnacle? If I remember right, it's Pinnacle. Pinnacle Entertainment Group are like that. So they're like, nah, they want reviews to come from their customers, and that's fine. I mean, that's completely up to them. So anyways, so there was a contact. I have sent an email. Said, hey, you know, we went back and forth a little bit, Jen and I, and nothing ever came about it. Harley Stroh, who follows, well, at least he follows the Gaming Gang on Twitter. I know that. I don't know if he catches the shows or not, or watches videos and that. He was trying to talk them into, you know, getting on board with the Gaming Gang. So anyway, what I was going to say is, so I sent an email. Now, I've said it time and time again that publishers listen to their customers. So if you ever see something on thegaminggang.com or on the show, or I do a review of something, and that led you to purchase that game or adventure or what have you, core book, you should send along an email to that publisher to let them know, hey, you know, Jeff over the Gaming Gang did a really good review of this. That's why I bought this. So anyway, I was going to say, if you would like to see Goodman Games content on the Gaming Gang, do me a favor, send them an email. And you can send them an email to info@goodman-games.com. Don't forget the dash. So, like I said, I floated it out there to them, and I don't know. But they are supposedly, as of 2 weeks ago, they were looking for streamers. So they were looking for people on Twitch and YouTube. So I don't know if they were just looking at, you know, they just wanted people to just share the info or what. But certainly word email, no, Flaming Heron, you don't have to do that. Just say, hey, you know, I like Goodman Games stuff. MC points out that they've got a lot of their products and that. Say, hey, I'm surprised that you never have, you know, you don't send stuff to the Gaming Gang. Why doesn't the Gaming Gang review Goodman Games stuff? Now, I have reviewed Goodman Games stuff, but I've had to either purchase it or, as with the original adventures Reincarnated, I had somebody send those to me. So we shall see. So Tessie Trekkie says, speaking of Pinnacle, the new Holler setting for Savage Worlds is excellent. Appalachian horror mixed with real-world inspired industrial horror. You know what? You know what? It's not Pinnacle. Although Pinnacle doesn't really they don't really send a lot of stuff out. But I have reviewed some stuff from them. Pelgrane Press. I always mix the two of them up. Pelgrane Press. Oh, and hey, speaking of companies that start with a P, last night we were wrapping up the show and I just couldn't remember the name of the company that made Delta Green originally and had a lot of really excellent Call of Cthulhu releases, and it was Pagan Publishing. They also did the Unspeakable Oath, which was every, once or twice a year, a new issue would come out, but it was actually very, very good. David B. has joined us as well. So once again, if you'd like to see some Goodman Games products get reviewed at the Gaming Gang, I have reached out. Do me a favor, shoot an email to info@goodman-games.com and say, hey, demand the Gaming Gang review stuff. Lastly, the other thing I was going to say is, once again, another year passes without actually doing a live stream on April Fool's Day. And it's kind of a bummer because I guess I'm ruining the joke if and when it ever happens, but I would actually fill the show with like fake sponsors. But they would be like real sponsors, just not sponsoring the show. So, 10 minutes in, I'd be like, oh, this is brought to you by Squarespace. And then go on about just like it was a regular, sponsorship. And then Stamps.com and Purple Mattress and things like that. But not doing a show on April Fool's Day, so there is that. I did one time do an April Fool's gag on thegaminggang.com where I shared a news piece where it had leaked that the next Doctor Who was going to be Megan Fox. And people picked up on it. They were like, oh my God. It was like, it's an April Fool's joke, guys. Come on, get real. All righty. So as I mentioned, we are going to be diving on into the conspiracy for Delta Green in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
Barmaid.
Yes?
Do you serve elephants?
Yes, we do.
Well, I'd like a bottle of... wait a minute, I have a slip of paper here. I'd like a bottle of Mellow Jacks with a real beer taste, premium brewed from 100% natural ingredients. Do you have that? Mellow, bright, clear, and light?
Yes, we do.
Jacks, the beer that once you've tried, you'll never again be completely satisfied with any other beer.
Yes, I know the beer you mean.
That's what it says on the slip. Well, that's what I like. I'd like some of that.
Well, all right.
It says here it's my favorite beer.
Oh, well, then I'll get it for you right away.
Thank you.
Something the matter?
No, I'm just so upset.
Something wrong? Can I help?
I have an incredibly bad memory. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Really?
I'm so ashamed.
Really?
It's supposed to be a characteristic of ours, never to forget anything.
Yes, among elephants. I heard of that.
I forget everything. I remember nothing. I have absolutely no memory. I absolutely remember nothing at all. Nothing. I have to write everything down. It's a maddening problem. I cannot remember anything.
Goodness, how long have you had this problem?
What problem?
Grandma, it's Little Red Riding Hood with your Wilkins coffee.
I'm the bad wolf, and I just ate your grandma.
We'll have some Wilkins to wash her down.
He's coming. It's King Zor. King Zor, the fighting dinosaur. He's on a rampage. Aim your dinosaur gun. Quick, hit his tail. Fire! King Zor is fighting mad. He's backing up to put you off guard. He's turning toward you. Look out! He's firing missiles. Each time you hit his tail, King Zor, the dinosaur, fights back. He never gives up. Nothing stops King Zor. When he hits his tongue, he backs up and turns away, ready to fight again. There's never been a fighting dinosaur like King Zor. Get King Zor complete with 5 missiles, 5 darts, and a dinosaur gun. Be ready for King Zor. He's ready for you.
King Zor looks like a pretty lame toy there. Hit his tail, it'll turn and shoot a ball at you. Oh my God. And yes, MC points out, damn it, Wonkins. See, Wonkins just couldn't take it anymore. Decided they were going to cannibalize Wilkins' grandma. Yeah, turnabout's fair play, I guess. So something I did want to mention, kind of a little trivia note. So with that Jack's beer commercial, and yes, I saw it's like, doesn't remember anything. The elephant doesn't remember because he's a blackout drunk. So the voices were done by a comedy duo that was Nichols and if I remember correctly, the woman's name was May, Elaine May. It was Mike Nichols and Elaine May or something. It's Elaine something. Mike Nichols went on to become a very famous director. I mean, really famous. So, and he got his start as part of a comedy duo. Pretty wild. I thought that was kind of a funny commercial, although it ends so fast. Where he's like, she says, so how long have you had the problem with his memory? And it's, what problem? But I think it kind of cut it off a little bit at the end. Agent Especial is with us tonight. It is the agent who shared the Pagan Publishing last night. In fact, it was kind of funny. It was just coming to me when I saw that pop up. And I was like, yep, Pagan Publishing. That's who we were talking about. All right, so without further ado, tonight we're going to dive on in and take a first look at Delta Green, The Conspiracy from Arc Dream Publishing. It's written by Dennis Detwiller, Adam Scott Glancy, and John Scott Tynes, with art provided by Dennis Detwiller. The 232-page hardcover with PDF carries an MSRP of $49.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $24.99. Flaving here, it says, King Zor is more like King Snore. I would agree with you on that. Right, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got The Conspiracy. So a few things I do want to mention before we jump on in. First of all, the fine folks over at Arc Dream Publishing were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. These days, it's important that you know that. Also, this is a Game Master facing book, to my knowledge. So if you are a player hoping that your Game Master is going to be running Delta Green in the 90s, which this is a source book for, I would probably recommend tune out now. Of course, you can let your Game Master know about this video so they can check it out later on down the line. But just wanted to point that out. Might have some spoilers here. So you have been warned. We're also going to be taking a look at the adventure Convergence. So we know there are going to be some spoilers there as well. We're not going to look at each and every page, but I do want to get you a good feel for what's in the conspiracy. And of course, I'm curious about it as well. So as you can tell, this cover is pretty nice. So it looks like we've got like an alien hand here. There's also an alien hand here. You might be able to see that. And I noticed Arc Dream Publishing has joined us in chat. And I do believe it very well may be Shane Ivey himself who is joining us. So thanks for swinging on in and hanging with the gang tonight. All right, so let's jump on in. So, and I'm sure, I'm like I said, I'm assuming it's Shane, so I'm going to say Shane if I want to direct any questions to him. And of course, if you have any questions, by all means, ask in chat. That's why he is showing up to hang out. And yes, it is Shane Ivey himself. Anyway, I was going to say, Shane can correct me on this, but I believe that this is actually kind of a revamp of the original Delta Green supplement that came out from Pagan Publishing back in the late 90s, which at that point in time was actually a Call of Cthulhu supplement. Now, some of you out there might not realize that Delta Green is its own role-playing game system. It is a D100 based system, but it is not Call of Cthulhu. It is Delta Green. So here looks like we've got a foreword discussing Delta Green and a bit of the background. Kind of interesting. It's astonishing that Delta Green is somehow even more relevant today than it was first released when it was first released in the 1990s. Those who peddle conspiracy theories about secret government agencies battling flesh-eating cults are no longer harmless kooks selling each other mimeographed fanzines. They're congressmen. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, and then John Scott Tynes has an introduction here, and it's the intro from 97. So we have agents and friendlies. So we've got creating agents. Most player characters are fully briefed members of the Delta Green conspiracy called agents. Beginning in 1994, agents are organized in small cells of trusted operatives whose only knowledge of the conspiracy is each other. Each has a code name. See Cells and Security on page 13 for details. Okay, so we get discussion of various different friendlies, recruiting agents. What do the agents know? And I will definitely point out that the graphic presentation of this is quite different than the 1998. So Shane points out, fun fact, John's 1997 introduction is way more grimly relevant now than it was then. Flaming Heron says, Delta Green will always have a place at their gaming table. So one aspect I always point out to folks regarding Delta Green is that I find it to be a far more gritty and grim, really, setting than you'll find for most Call of Cthulhu adventures. So from my experience with Delta Green adventures, and I'll be the first to point out, I have not checked out every single one, but I have reviewed a few. They tend to be pretty gruesome. It's not like, well, let's, yeah, we're going to have the 12-year-olds join us at the table for this campaign. No. Don't think that's going to be happening. The Handler, that's, for some reason, I couldn't remember the title for the Game Master. It is The Handler. There is a quick start that is available for Delta Green as well. I think it's free on DriveThruRPG off the top of my head. I might be wrong. I know someone in chat can answer that for us. Right, Shane? Getting ready. With the major and minor plots of your campaign chosen, you need to prepare notes on how the investigators are going to learn about the big secrets of your campaign. This primarily means planning investigations, vignettes. Is that bond interactions? Oh yeah, like the bonds they share. And other such background information. We have risks and blowback, questions and connections. Alien intelligences, deep ones, dimensional shamblers, elder things, who we discussed last night, created humanity. That is the big scare in At the Mountains of Madness. I can't believe how many people don't realize that when they read At the Mountains of Madness, that the whole point, the scariest part of that whole story is that the elder things created humanity. Just like they created the Shoggoths, they created that as well, humanity. So we've got a great race of Yith, great old ones. Oh, come on, I know the Migo are in here. Where are my favorites, the Migo? I'm sure they're in here. Nyarlathotep, Yog-Sothoth. So it looks like now we get into Delta Green. So we get the breakdown of Delta Green itself. So the genesis of Delta Green was a raid on Innsmouth. During the winter of 1927-28, U.S. Treasury agents investigated the small Massachusetts town of Innsmouth and reported their findings to President Calvin Coolidge, having once ordered a similar roundup of Reds while serving as governor of Massachusetts. President Coolidge authorized a raid on Innsmouth. Delta Green would eventually designate the raid Project Puzzle Box. So you may have caught this during Halloween, but I shared the BBC 4 audio presentation of the Shadow over Innsmouth, although they call it Innsmouth, which kind of drove me nuts throughout it. The rest of it is fantastic, outside the fact that they just keep calling it Innsmouth, and I have never, ever heard it referred to as Innsmouth. So Shane points out in Delta Green, the bonds are the family and friends you alienate and disappoint by being an agent for Delta Green. So Tessie Trekkie says they're considering having one pair of players play Mulder and Scully and induct them into Delta Green. That was one of the things that really inspired Delta Green, as far as I understand, what I've heard over the years, was, of course, X-Files. So it looks like we're going through a bit of the history of Delta Green. Important individuals. And as you see, we've got some stat blocks for some important NPCs as well. I don't know if there's an adventure in here. I don't think there is. Then again, I might be looking at it right here. Oh, there we go. The Migo right there. Yeah, the fun guy from Yugoth. So is this an adventure? No, I think it's just discussing them. Oh, okay. Majestic. So here's another group. In 1947, the 509th was the only bomber group in the world armed with atomic weapons. Is it any surprise that when extraterrestrials arrived on Earth, they went to its home at Roswell Army Air Base? In July of that year, the 509th was alerted by a local sheriff that a farmer had reported discovering some type of aircraft wreckage on his land. Major Jesse Marcel, a respected World War II pilot and expert on aircraft, went out with a crew at 9 a.m. the next morning, expecting to find a weather balloon or some sort of small aircraft. What do you mean he did find a weather balloon? What's going on? What he found was a debris field 2.5 miles in diameter, scattered with thin tinfoil-like pieces of metal, strange pieces of incredibly light wood-like material, and several pieces of thicker metallic material with hieroglyphics on it. Marcel quickly realized that this was the partial wreckage of an extraterrestrial craft. He took several pieces back to his car, left one of his men at the crash site, and headed to the base. Dun, dun, dun. So a lot of this, to this point, is giving us a lot of the various different background elements to Delta Green. So here we have selected majestic sites. Then we have different projects. So Shane says the first Delta Green came out before X-Files, but they definitely drew from many of the same wells. So Agent Especial says they're playing Beyond Mountains now. It's 2 years and they're finally at the mountains. I had a buddy of mine, I've mentioned him previously, who was part of our game group in high school, Tim Phelan. And he and some friends played through the entire Beyond the Mountains of Madness campaign and actually wrote it up. And it was online as of a few years ago. And I mean, it was pretty old. I mean, it was, you know, essentially just text on a web page. But it was pretty interesting. In fact, a few of the other players who had been in the campaign were guys I had gamed with in high school. So I thought, oh, that's pretty wild. So Keldon is with us. Good to see you, Keldon. Got a nice chat rocking and rolling tonight. Let's hope Shane doesn't bring it all to a crashing halt. I'm just kidding. So is this our Nazis? Here we go. Oh, look at this. The old saying is true. Old Nazis never die. They just go to South America. In an isolated and well-defended manor in Brazil, 3 old Nazis still live. They've taken upon themselves the holy mission of starting the Fourth Reich, a Reich grounded in the occult. This group, known as the Karatekia, but masquerading to most as Odessa, tries to work with Aryan and white supremacist organizations around the world. The Karatekia's core membership is minuscule, and if truth be told, 2 of the 3 leaders of the group are as interested in personal power and magical longevity as they are in ruling the world. But the Karatekia's potential threat is substantial, and their network of allies is a strong resource. Realistically, their chances of conquering the world under the Fourth Reich are slim to none, but they do represent a real threat to the citizens and national security of the United States, let alone the rest of the world. And their actions may well bring them into conflict with their old enemy, Delta Green. Bum, 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 bum. John's asking, are the aliens here to help fight the elder gods with humanity? I think they have their own game plan. Surrounded by enemies everywhere. The human races, that is. All right, so get some background about that as well. Some important NPCs. And then Saucer Watch. Saucer Watch is a private UFO investigation group that had its start with the UFO craze, which began with Kenneth Arnold's June 24th, 1947 sighting of flying discs over Mount Rainier in Washington State. So I guess Saucer Watch is kind of our fictional MUFON. The 1950s was a period of rapid growth for the UFO contactee community. I was like, contactee quotes. Finley Deely is with us. I believe this is the first time we've had Finley stop in and visit with us in chat. Welcome aboard. Glad to see you. Says, call me crazy, but I don't think the Migo are our friends. That is another of my favorite H.P. Lovecraft stories. Let's see. Contactees claimed either to be in or to have had communications with various intelligent and benevolent space brothers who were coming to Earth to spread the message of intergalactic peace and enlightenment. Yeah, okay. Come on, that rectal probe's out of love. There we go. More Migo again. And it looks like we've got... Oh, so Majestic's an enemy of Saucer Watch. We get important NPCs of that group. The Fate. Was this some crazy religious group? Let's see. Not all humans are blind chattel bound for the slaughter. There do exist a bold few who know the universe for what it is and realize the awesome responsibility that this knowledge brings. That responsibility is simple. Grab all the power you can and crush anyone who gets in your way. These bold few live, work, and rule in New York City. They are the Fate. They work through a front called The Network. Their master is Stephen Alzis. All right. Club Apocalypse. Must be where they hang out. The Fate are a slippery group, shielded from official investigation by layers of interference from the most powerful criminal syndicates on the East Coast. No law enforcement agency has any files on the Fate or knows of their existence. Individual investigators and detectives have had run-ins with the Fate, but even most of these mistakenly assumed that talk of the network referred to one of the run-of-the-mill syndicates and not a heretofore unknown group. Those few who have glimpsed the true nature of the Fate and their relationship with the New York City syndicates have either died or kept quiet. And then we've got our appendices. So, Feds in the 90s. Okay, so talking about federal agents there. We've got some optional rules for firearms. Security classifications. We've got our glossary. The unnatural. So it looks like we've got some various, well, so it shows here manuscripts. So we've got some different tomes here. Nice. And that looks like, I believe that's how we're going to wrap up some of these top secret communiques or reports. We have some new rituals. Yeah, looks like we got some rituals here, and then we've got a bibliography. There you go, Kooks. An excellent source book for strangeness. This book profiles famous kooks from the past and present, including some UFO conspiracy theorists. It's from 1994. All right, then we finish up with an index. There we go. And Flaming Aaron says it's top secret, and it's not redacted to hell. Finley says, love the fate, or as I call them, all this and more. So once again, The Conspiracy for Delta Green is available now in hardcover. Carries an MSRP of $49.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $24.99. And then as a bonus, we're going to take a peek at Convergence. So my understanding is, I think this was the first Delta Green adventure that was ever published. Now, I seem to recall, and I'm trying to remember, I think, because not only did we have Delta Green, but Chaosium also had Cthulhu Now, which was just Call of Cthulhu in a modern day setting. And I'm trying to remember, if it was Pagan Publishing or if it was Chaosium Inc. released an adventure, maybe Shane remembers this. They released an adventure which it was the space shuttle brought back a color out of space. For some reason, I think that was a Cthulhu Now adventure, but it was actually a pretty damn good adventure. The Sky Watches. September 1996. In a small Tennessee town, teenager Billy Ray Spivey, any relation to Chris Spivey, vanishes for 2 days without explanation and comes back changed. When he uses unnatural powers to kill 2 people, conspiracy theorists blame UFOs. Delta Green has other suspicions. A team of agents heads to Groversville. Isn't that New Jersey? Isn't that where? So Shane points out, yes, that was Cthulhu Now, the killer out of space. Isn't Groversville where the Martians land? To find the truth, but they may become the next victims. Written by John Scott Tynes, Convergence was, there you go, the first Delta Green scenario ever published. Delta Green's illegal conspiracy of government agents exploit their positions and connections to cover up lethal incursions from beyond time and space, facing the madness so that no one else must. Convergence has blighted the nightmares of unwitting players since it first appeared in 1992. This edition has been thoroughly edited and updated for Delta Green, the role-playing game, and it accompanies Delta Green, the Conspiracy, as it has tonight, a source book for terrors in the 90s. This is the horror that started it all. Prepare your briefing, gather your players, give them our best wishes. None of you will ever be the same. So Keldon says they have a Cthulhu Now adventure sitting on their table right there. It's called At Your Door, set in the 90s. All right, so let's see. Keep in mind, I'm going to point this out again. This is an adventure. We're not going to look at each and every page, but there are going to be some spoilers here. Even though I don't know anything about this adventure, we're going to see some stuff. So, there we go. One of my favorite alien races is in this. September 1996, the Migo are engaged in a secret program of study and experimentation on American citizens. Masquerading as the alien Greys, the Migo are responsible for infamous phenomena including cattle mutilation, human abduction, and other unsavory activities. Through the Greys, they perform their experiments with the sanction and assistance of the U.S. government. Dun, dun, dun! We've been lied to! In the form of a secret agency known as the Majestic Project, or Majestic 12. If I remember correctly, isn't PX Poker Night also based on the Migo working with the government through the Greys? I'm pretty sure. Finlay says they're going to be starting their own 90s Delta Green campaign soon. They're cooking up a scenario that involves the Karatechia futzing with the powers of the Igor. I never know how to pronounce that. So Finlay says yes. I think he's saying yes to PX Poker Night. So here's something I'll mention. It's just my opinion. Personally, I think it's probably, even though you're looking at a far more modern setting with Delta Green, as opposed to Call of Cthulhu, I think, once again, in my opinion, that Delta Green is a little more challenging for the game master to pull off. Because in Delta Green, from my experience, there are far, far more shades of gray everywhere, as opposed to many Call of Cthulhu adventures, especially classic Call of Cthulhu adventures, where a lot of times things are pretty cut and dried, black and white. Not so much with Delta Green. And sometimes with the Delta Green adventures that I have seen, there is some more moving parts than you might find in some Call of Cthulhu adventures. But that said, I think with a lot of Delta Green adventures, you can really scare the bejesus out of your players, more so than with some of the classic Call of Cthulhu adventures. So, according to Shane, he says it is a hard L on the Leogor. So, don't know. I don't know. I will say it seems like that race has gotten a lot of play. Maybe not necessarily very recently with Call of Cthulhu, but there was a point in time where they were in tons and tons of adventures as the baddies. And it was kind of like, okay, all right, already. Okay, so let's see. The Migo recently abducted and surgically altered a young man named Billy Ray Spivey, replacing muscle tissue in his arms and legs with tissue constructed of protomatter. Spivey possesses tremendous strength and endurance in those parts of his body, but needs a lot more calories to replace the ones burned in any heavy exertion. The strain on his system from the enhanced components also causes a great deal of pain throughout his body. Player characters are all Delta Green agents or friendlies. They are summoned to a briefing at the FBI office in Knoxville, Tennessee, by Special Agent in Charge James Derringer of the famous Derringer pistol family. Keldon says, yeah, in Delta Green, characters have access to more resources and modern communications. Although I have to say, a lot of times as a keeper with Call of Cthulhu adventures, it can be kind of tricky there as well. Because especially if you're not someone who's pretty well vested or versed, I guess I should say, in the 1920s and 30s, because it's I mean, like, honestly, like somebody in their 20s nowadays running Call of Cthulhu, I would think you got some pretty serious holes you could probably drive through as far as the gaps in technology. So here we've got our overhead maps for Groversville, Tennessee. Oh, it's Grover's Mill. That's where, and in fact, I'm sure somebody probably made that comment in chat. Grover's Mill is where the Martians land in the War of the Worlds broadcast. All right. So our player characters are investigating a couple of murders that were committed by Billy Ray Spivey. So we've got our handouts here, our player aids. Watching the skies. If the agents watch the skies for UFOs, it takes extended shifts at night outside town. After 4 hours, an agent with search at 60% or higher, or who succeeds at a roll, spots them, many colored lights pulsing in irregular patterns in several clusters that flit about in the sky. Agents can repeat the roll every 4 hours. We believe you. Phenomena X. Somebody's business card. So we've got our aftermath of the adventure. We get some Migo stats. We got some NPCs here. So Shane was just saying, purple is the color of love. Dead does not equal safe. So we're gonna wrap up with our various different stat blocks, and then we have an advertisement for Promise Tennessee. No taxes, no upkeep, no renovation costs. Promise handles it all. What a deal! Flaming Huron says, reminds me of the line from Ghostbusters, we're ready to believe you. Isn't it, we're ready to believe in you? It's been a long time since I've seen it. All right, so this is Delta Green Convergence. This happens to be written by John Scott Tynes with artwork provided by Dennis Detwiller. We just took a peek at the 24 pages. This softcover itself with the PDF carries an MSRP of $19.99, or you can score just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $4.99. All right, let's swing on over to the other camera. And of course, I will wrap up for the week. Should mention to Shane, by all means, touch base. We should put together an interview through Skype one of these days, because we have not chatted in, gosh, it's probably 3 years. I know we talked, Dennis Detwiller joined us, and we talked at Gen Con, but it's been about 3 years. So kind of chat all things Arc Dream Publishing. Very cool. Very cool. So Keldon says, remember in real life when all those people were going to get together and storm Area 51? Yes, I remember that. All those people got together who would have been gunned down. I got the feeling that that's what would happen. You know, the government tells you not to go someplace. I think you can expect to get shot if you go into that place. So Agent Especial says they are having bad Wi-Fi again. Must be the Migo. All righty. So what's cooking next week? So I was going to do a week devoted to The Witcher. I think I'm going to push that off for an additional week because we have focused a ton on role-playing games as of late, which I'm fine with. I've discussed previously that the Gaming Gang and, of course, the videos on the Gaming Gang channel has shifted gears more towards role-playing games, which is my all-time great love anyway. Don't get me wrong, I say it all the time. I love me my board games. But my true love is role-playing games. But we have kind of been ignoring some stuff that had showed up. So Shane points out, glad to do another interview anytime. I'll reach out to Rachel and just shoot her an email and we'll work something out. So Shane also pointed out they just typed a bunch of stuff and ended with an emoji, but all that showed up was the emoji. Yeah, I saw the emoji. Anyway, so next week, we are going to be taking a look on Monday. We're going to dive on into Blitz Bowl, which, yes, it is, I'm trying to remember the name of the game that this is actually an offshoot of from Games Workshop. So, but this is, I think this is like their intro to it. So we are going to take a look at this. Actually, my best friend Elliot Miller gave me this for Christmas, but I hadn't seen him until, what was it, 3, 4, thank you, Blood Bowl. Thanks, everybody. I was like, why am I zoning on it? Kept focusing on Blitz. And I'm like, no, that's it. No, Blitz is not part of the name. Damn it. So, well, yes. So this was my Christmas present that I got in like early March. So we're going to take a look at that on Monday. Then we're also going to take a look at Territory, which is a card game. It's a fantasy card game, I do believe. And we will take a look at this on Tuesday. And then we will have a War Game Wednesday. That's right. We're going to look at the new edition of the Russian campaign from my friends over at GMT Games. This is a very traditional Hex Encounter war game, but we will take a peek at this one right here. So Agent Especial says, role-playing games in Blood Bowl, scenery for Warhammer Fantasy role-playing. Blood Bowl, you know, the funny thing is I was into Games Workshop years ago. I mean, we're talking, I was in my probably late 20s. So for about a period of about 5 years, but we really didn't play anything but Epic. And even though I would buy other stuff, I bought, you know, stuff for Warhammer 40K. I had miniatures for fantasy and stuff like that. I had some I picked up Blood Bowl. I picked up the auto duel game that they had. So, but the pricing was just crazy. And I finally was like, you know what? This is nuts. It's like I could buy like 5 games for the cost of just, you know, one game from Games Workshop. So So Kevin says they think Blitz Bowl is Blood Bowl with smaller teams. I believe you are correct. And I think the rules are lighter. So I believe that's what it is. So anyway, so that is what's going to be cooking on next week's shows. And then after that, we will do a week devoted to The Witcher, because I've got a Witcher's Journal, a Book of Tales, a Tome of Chaos, which I do believe is the last supplement that came out. This is like the Magic supplement. And then Lords and Lands, which I believe is a small supplement, and it includes the Game Master screen. So got all of those from the fine folks over at Tal'Dorei Games, as well as a couple of releases for Cyberpunk Red. So although I have to reach out because they did not send the core book because it was out of print. They had a new print run. I think it's out. They got it now. So I'm going to reach out because we're also going to do a Cyberpunk Red week in the near future. So Agent Especial's asking, is Blitz Bowl only for the U.S.? Well, let's take a look. I am not seeing anything that's indicating any other foreign languages or countries. I don't know. Might be a North American release. That's a possibility. All righty then. So if you're watching live, thank you very much. Big thank you to Shane Ivey for stopping on in and hanging out and chat with us tonight so we could tackle your questions and mine regarding Delta Green. So thank you, Shane. I'll talk to you soon. But of course, if you watch live, thank you. If you took part in chat, a bigger thank you. Because not only do you keep me company, you keep each other company while I'm babbling on and misremembering names and things like that. But of course, I know a lot of you out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. I appreciate each and every one of you taking time out of your busy lives to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. Of course, don't forget, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. Speaking of the YouTube channel and this video, if you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Central. I'll also inform you when I upload standalone videos, such as my recent Paizo preview, where I showed you the physical releases for March 2023 for Pathfinder and Starfinder role-playing games. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. I'll be back on Monday, and here's hoping each and every one of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, that's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.